Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome along to round 4 of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series in partnership with i-cin.com and SimRacing.it, and with support from TJ as well. Mark Werrell chatting to you now. We head for round 4. We head to the Hockenheimring in Germany. We are racing on this newly launched circuit from iRacing, but of course, racing in this part of Germany for real first started as a result of a conversation between one of the local timekeepers and his young assistant who thought about having a race around their hometown of Hockenheim. Well, through the years, there's been changes to the circuit. Most of those changes, major changes coming when the circuit reopened in the current configuration in 2001. And as we say, iRacing have only just launched this circuit. We'll guide you through what's happened in the championship so far and the championship standings the way they are in a short while. But before that, let's have a quick look at a video that championship frontrunner Tobias Dowenhauer is showing us around the lap on this iRacing version of the Hockenheimring.
Hello everyone, I would like to give you a quick look in my simulator. This is the place where I spent most of my time during the season preparation. And yeah, this is my setup, a triple screen setup with a Fanatec wheelbase, Fanatec club sport pedals and also a Fanatec shifter. And yeah, at the moment I'm training for the EuroNASCAR Esports Series Round 4 at the Hockenheimring on Tuesday evening. And yeah, now I want to take you with me for one lap here in iRacing. Okay, so we're going out of pits. Shifting down to the second gear here in turn 2. Try to carry out a lot of speed for the long straight, the parabolica. Now we are at the slowest corner at the whole track. Keep attention of wheel spin. Now entry of the Mercedes grandstand. Entry of Motordrome, very fast corner. Now we are already at a Sachs corner. Try to drive a smooth line. Now the last two corners not that easy to drive. Now we are at the start-finish straight again. Also here the first corner. Cut the curb at the inside a bit. And yeah. So this was a lap in my simulator here in iRacing at the Hockenheimring. And yeah, if you want to see more sim racing action, feel free to tune in on Tuesday evening at EuroNASCAR YouTube channel.
So there we go. There is a lap around the iRacing version of the Hockenheimring circuit, the full 2.842 mile or 4.574 kilometre circuit that we are racing on. And I'm delighted to say that we've got somebody that's very important to the Hockenheimring. We have got Jorge Benzemans with me, who is the president of the Bardischer Motorsports Club, who's come to join us in commentary. Jorge, it's great to chat to you again, and it's wonderful, albeit virtually, to be back at this newly launched circuit from iRacing, the Hockenheimring. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. Thank you. And it's great for us to see Hockenheimring in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series because it's really new, this track now. And unfortunately, we cannot race on the NASCAR track, but we have to race the Grand Prix circuit. But anyway, it's great to see Hockenheim in the virtual version.
As you say, yeah, we're racing on the Grand Prix circuit. We'll be racing on your national circuit when we come there later on in the year. You've been, you're one of our fantastic circuit partners that we've worked with over the years when we bring the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series to you. We've also been very supportive of these esports series that have been going on during this current pandemic, with the Hockenheimring, the FanFest car being out there at every single event, and in the case of some of them, 2 cars out there representing the circuit.
Yeah, that's great for us to have 2 cars, and it's even greater that we had in the last race, we had the 2nd place with Philippe Beresville, which was really, really enjoyable for us.
Philippe Beresville, hugely quick, hugely talented, still rather young as well, but he's another local lad. He knows this circuit well, doesn't he?
Yeah, of course. He knows every single centimeter of Hockenheim, I think. So I hope that he will drive a really good race tonight.
And as for your other car, because of course, again, you've got 2 cars represented this evening, have you not?
Yeah, the second driver, or the first driver, is Stefan Kresin, our team leader of the Hockenheimring American FanFest team. So he will also drive his home circuit. He lives about 200 meters from the start. So it's really a home game.
For the fans that are watching Jorge, I'm basing myself in the UK and not travelling to the events during this pandemic, and we're starting to unlock. In Germany, we're hoping to get there in a few months' time, but things are still very fluid, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and we have ups and downs the whole time. Now we are on a up again, so the numbers of infections are increasing. And unfortunately, for next week, we get a new lockdown here in Germany. Nobody knows what will happen. We do everything that we can have the American FanFest in July, but we can promise nothing.
Well, I am keeping my fingers crossed. I'm sure many people are, because we want to go to Hockenheim, absolutely for sure. And the one thing we want are the fans, because that's the event, isn't it? It's all about the fans.
It's all about the fans, because the name is FanFest, and that's what we want to have here in Hockenheim. Not only a race, but a fest for everybody. That the people can go to the paddock. They have everything in the paddock. It's short ways to everything. The drivers are really good to be there. They have autographs and everything. So I think that's what we want to have. And it's unfortunately, without the fans, I think there will be no FanFest.
Yeah, well, I know of the events that I've been to over the last few years with the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. You sort of look at the best parts of all of the different events and try and work out who's doing things better. And I've got to say, your team at the Hockenheimring, the organisation of the event from a hopefully a neutral perspective, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job out there. So let's hope that we can have that full experience for all of our fans this year. Hey.
Yeah, thank you. And I will tell this to our staff, and I hope we will see you in July.
We'll hang around and watch the race. Hang around. But thanks for chatting to us, Jorgen. Thank you for Hockenheimring's continued support, and thanks to all of your team.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There we go. So there was one of our very special guests for this evening. We would usually have Andre Weigold joining me in the commentary box whilst also racing the car, but Andre's feeling a little off colour at the moment, so he has opted not to race this evening. So get well soon, Andre, from the whole of the team. As for the championship points coming into this particular race, round 4 of the championship coming up. So this is, in reality, the final round that is standard points play. We go to the double points finals for the next round. Guillaume de Flandre leads the championship, but only by 8 points from Tobias Downhauer, who's there in second place. So there's a bit of a gap back, but it's very tight for third, with Fred Cabillon, Simon Palat, Henry Tuamala, and Vladimiras Joyces all just separated by 7 championship points. And if you think there are 40 available this evening, there are 80 available when we go to the finals at Zolder. It is all to play for. So that's the way the championship stacks up. As I was saying, Andre Weigold is not joining me in commentary this evening. So I do have another very important person who's going to chip in throughout the course of this evening. My boss, in reality, Gianluca Guiglia, joins me in commentary. Gianluca, it's great to have a chat to you. We haven't spoken huge amounts this year in commentary, but it's great to have you along, and you'll be able to bring in some insight as well from your perspective. Well, I was hoping we'd got Gianluca. It looks as though we are heading into qualifying now, and we should be able to get hold of John very shortly. Qualifying underway, and with a quick look.
I'm back, Mark.
Right. Okay. You're back. Okay. I wondered where you'd gone there. Gianluca does now join me in commentary. John, great to have you along. We've not spoken too much on air this year, but you're doing lots of hard work in the background, a fundamental part of the team, and we're in for another good night's racing.
Yeah, we are up for some exciting racing at Hockenheim. It's the first time we actually race on the GP version of the track, so we have more reasons to watch. And I was just talking to Jörg Bensemann, and thanks to him again. He said he's going to hang around. So we're going to chat with him. We're going to have another chat with him probably after the race.
That's good.
In our victory lane. Well,
that would be quite good because Jörg's audio was slightly low and I could hardly hear him through the car noise in the background. So that's a very good idea.
Yeah, and he's really hoping to have another American Fan Fest car on the podium.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I mean, fantastic job done by Philip Brisville last time through. Who's your money on this evening? Because you look at what happened in free practice, and again, it's those familiar names at the top of the times, isn't it? Guillaume de Flandre and Tobias Downhauer, quickest, and I think second quickest with Andre Castro not far away, the American rejoining the series for the second round on the trot. They all had the pace at Watkins Glen, and in the case of de Flandre and Downhauer, they've had the pace all season.
Yeah, exactly. They look like to be the main contenders for the title, for the EuroNASCAR Esports Series title. Remember, in 14 days, we have a double point race, so nothing is decided yet, but they are the main contenders. And let me say, the training sessions in the past week, they have been the fastest every single night. So Tobias looked to have a little bit of an edge yesterday in the last training session. So look, my money is on him. Home race for him. Of course, the other guys, they will offer for sure as a great show.
And a slightly different livery for our championship leader tonight. The Motul sponsorship now sported on the number 64 Speedhouse Chevy as it turns its way up towards the first corner here, which is Ravenolkova. Working his way out of there down the short straight up towards the tight right-hander, quite tight going into the right-hander, but it opens up nicely on the way out. This is nowadays known as Eccleston Curve, and that is where our championship leader was working his way. In qualifying, we'll only see one car on the track at a time. Virtually, that's all you'll see, but they are out there at the same time, all qualifying. Davide Dallara going well as well. He's been a driver that I've been very impressed with so far this season. Davide Dallara hasn't perhaps had the luck, Gianluca, but he has been very, very quick, hasn't he, throughout the course of this year?
Yeah, and also it's always difficult when you don't start in the first 2-3 rows of the grid. It's always difficult to get a clean start. Davide, last time out at Watkins Glen, Davide did something unbelievable. He passed how many cars? 27,
I think it's 21. It was a huge amount of places.
It was unbelievable. And he's like exactly as in real life. Davide has been one of the biggest surprises in 2020 and in this virtual series.
We've also got one brand new driver joining us on the grid that we've not seen so far this season. He is representing another one of our circuit partners. We've spoken about the Hockenheim FanFest cars, but we haven't mentioned the Autodrome Most cars as yet. We've got two out. We've got Jakub Krafek, but we've also got joining the series the 35-year-old Czech driver, which is Oldrich Stepanovsky. He's, again, another experienced esports racer, so he could go well this evening.
Yeah, I would keep an eye on him. The Autodrome Most always brings very quick drivers to the EuroNASCAR Esports Series grid, and last year, remember, we had the man was unbelievably fast.
He turned up as a guest and won 2 races, 2 finals, wasn't it? He won. So yeah, very, very quick.
Yeah, so, unfairly quick.
So we're just looking at the moment at the 122 Chevy in the hands of Andre Castro, seeing what he can do on his qualifying lap. Tobias Downhauer at the moment has set the fastest time of the session that we've seen. We did see part of his lap. Guillaume de Flandre is second. Paul Duthroux going really well. He sits there in third place at the moment. Andre Castro is about to flick his way over the start-finish line, quick through the first sector, quicker through the second sector, quicker than anybody through the third. Castro goes to provisional pole position with a 1 minute 42.762 from Andre Castro. And Tobias Down, however, on home turf, might be a little bit disappointed with that. 16 thousandths of a second, John. Yeah, that's all that separates them. Couldn't be closer, could it?
Yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I was just in disbelief. 16 thousandths of a second. Oh, and remember, Andre is just still adapting to his new equipment. He was super quick with the G27. I don't know where he can go, how fast he can be now.
Well, how quick he was on that Logitech was unbelievable. Now he's gone to a direct drive wheel, and he's going to be pretty unstoppable. I think it's just a shame he's not been able to complete in the full season to defend his crown. A little bit of a sideways moment there. That was Philippe Beresville, driver who, as we say, lives literally, as we heard from Jörg Benzemans, lives just a couple of hundred metres away from the circuit, and went so well last time out. When we were at Watkins Glen, had an absolutely fantastic result. What is the time going to look like there as he heads over the start-finish line this time through? The driver that's second in the final at Watkins Glen goes fourth quickest in qualifying with 1 minute 42.934. That is Gianluca Guiglia. The top four cars separated by less than 0.2 of a second, and we're on the Grand Prix circuit as well, a longer circuit than usual.
Yes. And the whole top 10 is pretty tight. Very strong performance by Chris Lehman in 11th place. Gordon Barnes as well. The usual suspects in the top 10. Oh, look! Stefano Guastaveglia just jumped in 11th position. Very nice.
Yes, Stefano Guastaveglia, who we've seen on the podium in one of the finals. He is a very, very quick driver, is Stefano Guastaveglia. We would usually see him as one of the team members for Cal Racing, engineering the number 54 car. Big spin for the Double Club Challenge champion. Alain Mouscaron has a big rotation as he was pushing to try and find a bit more pace out of the car, but that is going to undo some of his hard work. And we're now just into the final few minutes of the qualifying session, trickling his way back around. Heading towards pit lane. That was Older Stepanovsky, the addition to the entry list for this weekend. Also late into the session is Chris Lehman, who is still pressing on what must be his second lap, because looking at the body language of the car, doesn't look like an in lap, does it, for...
Yeah.
Sorry, no, that's Reen Janssen, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I apologise. Yeah, Chris Lehman's is the blue car, but all of the Marco Steep cars, been doing this all season, all of the Marco Steep cars are identically liveried. It's only when you see the number, you sort of think, hang on a minute, it's not who I thought it was. So this is Reen Janssen, who is currently just looking to try and set a lap time. The first sector of this lap, though, was a poor one, so I think this is going to be probably the only lap he's going to squeeze in, because the checkered flag is coming out in a few seconds' time, and I don't think it's really going to set the world alight, this particular lap. So I think we'll see Reen towards the back of the grid anyway. Remember, fastest car goes to pole for Heat 1, second fastest car goes to pole for Heat 2, third fastest car takes the outside of the front row of the grid for Heat 1, and the fourth fastest car goes to the outside of the grid for Heat number 2, and so on and so on and so on. So Heat number 1, we'll see Andre Castro line up on pole position because he was quickest in the qualifying session. Overall, in the qualifying session, Tobias Downhow was just 61,000ths of a second away from him in second place, so he will go to pole for Heat number 2. And Guillaume de Flandre was third quickest. Philippe Beresville was fourth, ahead of Simon Palat and Paul Giffroux, with Ulysse Delceau, Henry Tuamala, Vladimir Stoitzis and Justin Kuntz wrapping up the top 10 in qualifying. Stefano Guastaveglia was there in 11th place, ahead of Chris Lehman, putting in a good stint in 12th. Gordon Barnes, Patrick Hendricks and Davide Lara complete the top 15 with Alessandro Brigatti, Alain Mouscaron, Fred Gabion, who was fourth last time out at Watkins Glen, only 18th quickest in qualifying. Work to do from there for the Frenchman, as he's there in 18th place ahead of Santi Vauxhall and Giorgio Maggi. Again, poor qualifying again for Giorgio. Really seems to struggle in the two-lap qualifying sessions, Giorgio Maggi. Levi Lintercanto, Stefan Krasine, Jakob Krafek, Roy Hendricks and Alberto Pedebianco complete the top 25, with Igor Romanov, Maxi Heilig, Aldrich Stepanovki, Nave Talor only 29th, ahead of Reen Janssen, Freshito Garisto 31st, that's a long way down, Leo Colavita, Max Lancer and Yevgen Sokolovsky. So that gives you the order from the cars, but you can see several of them not posting times in qualifying, not getting a lap in. So this heat here then is the cars that in theory qualified in the odd number positions. So the cars that overall in the qualifying session were 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th and so on. So we will see Guillaume de Flandre, Andre Castro, Ulysse Delso, Simon Palat, Stefano Gustavalle, Vladimir Stoitzis, Davide Dallara, Gordon Bard, Santa Boxatoria, Jakub Krafek, Alan Muscaron, Livy Lintercanto, Alberto Panebianco, Maxi Heilich, Leo Colavita, Rien Jensen, Yevgen Sokolovsky. They will be the 17 drivers in this session. And again, Gianluca, it's worth pointing out, this carries no championship points. This just sets the grid, doesn't it, for the final later on?
Yeah, the points-paying racing is the main event race, the final one of the night. And since we have 34 cars entered in qualifying, we will not have a last chance qualifier. I know people at home that you all liked that race, so we'll try to make it happen for next time.
It'd be good for the final, wouldn't it? Lights have gone out, we're already off and away. Great start by Andre Castro, who is looking to try and pull away from Guillaume de Flandre, who's settled into 2nd place. It looks as though Simon Palat dives up the inside of de Flandre, outbreaks himself going in towards the Eccleston Curva, though, and that has caused a bit of a problem behind, I'm afraid to say, and I think Stefano Gustavalle has got caught out and has slithered across the grass and potentially into the barriers because he's dropping like a stone through the order. That little schmozzle there has just opened up the lead advantage for the likes of Andre Castro and Guillaume de Flandre. We are 3 and 4 wide. Look at this in the early stages of this one. Everybody trying to outbrake everybody as they head in towards the braking area for the hairpin. So through Spitzkir, and then start to accelerate their way down the straight and in towards the little kink that brings them up towards the Mercedes Tribune. Sliding sideways goes Vladimir Stoitzis, runs wide, and that's going to allow Davide Dallara to steal a place away. So Dallara up into 5th. Can he get the power down on the exit of the corner, though, and work his way onto the straight as they head in towards the Infat Motordrome area of the circuit. Davide Dallara has just done enough, so the Citric driver Stoitzis, that slithery moment in the early stages, just costing him dear there. But on the whole, Gianluca, that was a clean first lap, because I know it is something that's been pressed home with the drivers, isn't it? We have had a few first lap incidents across a few of the events. That looked reasonably clean.
Yeah, very clean. There's also plenty of room outside the corners at Hockenheim. They all remember very well Watkins Glen 2020. I have to say they learned the lesson.
That was, if ever there was a big one, that was the big one, wasn't it? Watkins Glen 2020. Alain Muscaron, and I'm afraid that was contact with Alberto Panebianco, the two of them wanting the same piece of tarmac at the same time, and something had to give, and unfortunately it was Panebianco's hopes of a good result in this race that had to give. So he has now dropped himself down into 17th and last position now, I'm afraid to say, at the wheel of that number 189 car. Alberto Panebianco, who's 24 years of age nowadays, but out front, leading the race. It is the reigning EuroNASCAR Esports champion, the 22-year-old American, Andre Castro, who only did a part season in the EuroNASCAR 2 division last year because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and was a front runner the year before, but perhaps didn't have the luck. Well, he is out front and leading this race, and leading Guillaume de Flandre, who I don't think really so far this year has hardly been beaten in a race, has he? He got beat by Tobias Downhauer in the main race that we had at Brands Hatch, but I think heat races, Guillaume de Flandre won his heat at Daytona on the road course, he won his heat at Brands Hatch, and he won his heat at what was Watkins Glen. So unbeaten in heats. Problems for Yevgen Sokolovsky, who's got together with Rien Jensen. Both of them will continue, but both Chevys looking slightly battered as a result of that contact between the pair of them. Let's just have another quick look. It was Rien Jensen who was going into the corner. Yevgen Sokolovsky saw a gap just as it was about to close, and then, poor old, yet again, I'm afraid to say, Stefano Gustavalle managed to get tangled in it as well. So they will all continue, but for the moment, they are now further down the order than otherwise they would have wished to have been. This is the fight for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. Jakub Krafek under pressure from Alain Muscaron. Jakub Krafek, again, one of our circuit-supported cars. Here's the sports sale manager for Autodrome Most, where we go to for the Most NASCAR show. Fantastic Czech circuit. Alain Muscaron, the 2 times NASCAR Club Challenge champion, having a little look at the inside. Couldn't quite make it through. Behind them, Leovano Colavita and Livi-Linterkanto getting together. But again, all of the drivers on this nice wide circuit, just giving each other enough room. However, we are going to see a drive-through penalty. So car number 199, Muscaron, drive-through penalty for causing an accident with Alberto Panebianco. So that is going to mean that Alan Muscaron, just as he gains a place on Jakob Krafek, is going to have to forego that position, serve that drive-through penalty.
I bet they're really relaxed in race control now.
they've had quite a bit to deal with at some events, but so far, I hate to say it, so far it's been all right. However, there is another drive-through penalty. There's a spin. That looked like Leo Kolavita maybe that had the spin. And a drive-through penalty also for Yevgen Sokolovsky for that incident that we saw where he sort of saw the gap was there, but then it was always going to close. And that contact with Rien Jensen that pitched them both round, also a drive-through penalty.
But remember, this is just an appetizer. It's a 10-minute race. So it's a whole different beast for the main event. They have to focus on managing their tires. And here, it's mostly just to take a good spot on the grid and then focus on those 30 minutes. We have all seen last time out at Watkins Glen what happened at the end of the race with Philippe Perez being terribly fast and almost winning the race on the final straight.
It was almost, was it? Yeah, the charge to the line, a little bit of contact as De Flandre tried to defend to keep the overall win and just managed to do it. And that was because, Philippe Beresfeld had sat there in third for a good chunk of it and was just biding his time. A little overtake there. Stefano Gustavalle picks up another place. That is over Livi-Linterkanto. Accident involving Alain Muscaron and Alberto Panebianco on lap number 1. There is no further action being taken on that one, is the news from race control. So we are now looking at the fight for 9th position, and considering that Stefano Gustavalle was on the grass at turn number 2 on the first lap, got tangled up in someone else's accident, to be running inside the top 10, he's going all right again now and may well pick up another few places before the end of the race. For the lead though, less than half a second, or less than 3/4 of a second I should say, separates the race leader Andre Castro from Guillaume De Flandre, and both of these drivers will just want to make sure that they, as you said, Gianluca, have a good position in this heat race. Make sure that they start at least on the front couple of rows for race number 2. And then, unlike Watkins Glen, as far as Andre Castro is involved, come the final, stay out of trouble, because he was right up there at the start of the Watkins Glen final, but got tangled up, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a guarantee, of course, but if you start in the first 2-3 rows maximum, that's the best spot you can be in. There's no reason to push too much now. Just stay out of trouble and get a good starting position. Let me say hello to the many fans we have watching from all over the world, basically. From Germany to Belgium to the United States, from Dusseldorf. Hello, Christian. And we have also, as usual, our real-life race director, Philippe Godet, who will be very pleased with the behavior of our drivers this time. But thank you race fans.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been fantastic having you all along, and we'll get you all to the circuits as soon as we can, which hopefully will be at Valencia in just a few weeks' time, where we kick things off at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. Battle for 13th, Alberto Panebianco under pressure from Santa Vauxhall. We did also just see what was going on with the battle for 3rd place, because Ulysse Delceau, the Frenchman who returns for this round, he missed out on Watkins Glen because of an issue with his rig, but he was under pressure from the young Belgian driver Simon Palat. But we are now side by side, Panebianco under pressure from the car of Santa Vauxhall, who draws himself alongside, but Panebianco still has the inside line for the hairpin. Is he going to be able to hang on to the place? Yes, he does. Santa Vauxhall outbreaks himself as he heads in towards the right-hand hairpin at the end of the straight. Spitzker, and therefore has to give the position back. All right, here's the battle for 3rd I was talking about. Now, this is former EuroNASCAR 2 champion, the number 10 car of Ulysse Delceau, ahead of Simon Palat. A quick look back at that replay. Santa Vauxhall brakes as late as he can, 2 wheels on the curb, realises that he's carried too much momentum in. Not too much momentum so as the car spins, but yeah, just enough to not be able to gain the place and complete the overtake that he was looking to do. Back to the battle for 3rd. Here it is, over the start-finish line they'll go. Former EuroNASCAR 2 champion at the wheel of the number 10 Chevy, Ulysse Delceau. Still only 23 years of age is Ulysse. Claimed the EuroNASCAR 2 championship back in 2018, but he's under pressure from Simon Palat, who is going beautifully well at the wheel of that number 166 Chevy that sits there in second place. Only 18 years of age, Simon. Completed in EuroNASCAR 2 last year, where he finished 8th overall in the standings. He was 4th in the rookie standings as well for that category. He had been racing for Feed Vic Racing, but will swap to DF1 for the 2021 EuroNASCAR season. And like so many young drivers that we see in EuroNASCAR 2, Gianluca, Simon Palat is very quick, very talented, and has a very bright future.
Absolutely. And if you while Andre Castro and Guillaume de Flandre are veterans in sim racing, both Ulysse and Simon, they started with iRacing last year with the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. If you remember, Simon literally drove with a steering wheel attached to the table of his kitchen and a laptop. So to see their progress, both here and in real life, is just amazing. Ulysse, of course, won the title in EuroNASCAR 2 and is going to be, hopefully soon, a contender in EuroNASCAR Pro as well. And Simon is just so young. I feel old, man.
Well, if you feel old, then imagine how I feel, because I've got a few years on you. Not many, but a few. So checkered flag is out. Over the start-finish line comes Andre Castro to claim the win by about 2 3/4 seconds. It will be in the end. So Andre Castro grabs the win. In second position is going to be Guillaume de Flandre. Third is going to be Ulysse Delso, who did see off the attack of Simon Palat. So it is going to be Simon in fourth position. Davide Dallara in fifth place. Vladimiris Joitsis comes through to take the checkered flag in sixth place. Who's going to finish seventh? It is Alan Muscaron that finishes in seventh place, ahead of Jakob Krafik, who finished in eighth place. Stefano Gustavalier finished in ninth in the end, despite the fact that his race had a few little interesting moments in it. And who's going to complete the top 10? Is it going to be Alberto Panebianco or Leo Colavita? It is Panebianco from Colavita by, well, exactly the same time, according to the timing screen. Looks as though there was zero gap between them. So there we go. That is the end of heat number one. Maxi Heilich enjoying, I think, taking the checkered flag there. So we should hopefully be able to get a couple of the drivers coming in to join us in the commentary booth for a quick chat. So we can guide you through the results, though, before we do that. Andre Castro claims the Heat 1 win from Guillaume de Flandre in second place and Ulysse Delso in third. Simon Palat was fourth, ahead of Davide Dallara in fifth place, and Vladimiris Joitsis in sixth. Alan Muscaron, Jakob Krafik, Stefano Gustavalier, and Gordon Barnes completed the top 10, with Alberto Panebianco coming home in 11th place, ahead of Leonardo Colavita in 12th place, who just beat Santa Boxatoria towards a checkered flag. Levi Linterkanto, Maxi Heilich, Rien Jensen, and Yevgen Sokolovsky were the last of the finishers. So that gives you the order for heat number one. However, joining us in the commentary box is the winner from heat number one. Andre Castro's back with us. Andre, great to chat with you again. Another heat win. Let's hope for better luck in the final this weekend, my friend.
Yeah, I hope so, and hopefully starting from pole it'll be a little easier to get away from the chaos. But I'm real happy just because it's been super tight with Tobias and Guillaume all through practice. And yesterday when I logged on, I put in about an hour and I was about 1.2 seconds off. So I went to work and before the race today did some practice and finally was able to kind of get up to pace. Just because I think this track is completely new to iRacing. It was released last week, so. Compared to all the other tracks we've done, it's definitely the one that I have least experience with. But no, really good race, really good heat one, and just trying to keep it clean for the final.
And on your qualifying lap, just very quickly, because it's a short rolling lap here before they go green. Green sector 1, green sector 2, sector 3 was the purple sector. You must have really hooked up that qualifying lap in sector 3.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I felt as though it was pretty good actually. But yeah. All the sectors were important and just got about a couple hundred, so there's nothing in between it. So we'll see what happens in the final.
Well done on the heat win. We'll head back to heat 2. There we go, Andre Castro, the heat 1 winner. Thanks for joining us up towards turn number 1. Tobias Downhour under huge pressure from Philip Beresville, who runs a little bit wide, and that might open up the door for Paul Dufour to try and squeeze his way through. Looks fairly clean so far. A little bit of bumping and boring further back, and I'm afraid to say that Chris Lehman gets turned around and has to wait for the gap in the traffic before the driver can rotate the car back in the right direction and get going again. But for the lead of the race, Tobias Downhour is sprinting away a little bit from Philip Beresville and Paul Dufour, who are absolutely side by side for second and third position, heading up in towards the hairpin for the first time. Spitzkira, and as they then accelerate their way down the short straight and in towards the right-hand kink, right in front of the Mercedes Tribune. The battle is on. This is Igor Romanov, who... Igor Romanov managed to tag the tail end, I'm afraid to say there. Off goes Igor Romanov into the barriers, but that was Francesco Garisto that he managed to get involved with there, and that was literally just after the start-finish line, so that was on the run towards turn one where the two of them managed to make some contact. So not quite as clean as we saw in heat number one, but still not a lot, just a few little rubs of paintwork and cars spinning as a result, I'm afraid to say, but nothing of any large consequence. There's number 3 now. That's Fred Gabion at the wheel of the RDV competition Toyota, one of just a couple of Toyotas we've got in this race. Fred is in a Toyota, and Older Stepanovsky is as well, representing what is Autodrome Most. Fred finished 4th on the road at Watkins Glen last week and has worked his way very well, I've got to say, up to 6th position in this race. So might have had the qualifying he wanted, Gianluca, but Fred Gabion, using all of that experience that he's got, which is loads, to work his way through the order, and I think here he's going to get past Patrick Hendricks as well. Yeah, he's got him on the run up towards turn number 2.
And Fred too has turned into a brilliant sim racer. He never turned a single lap before the last year's EuroNASCAR Esports Series season. Well, guess all the years of driving real race cars they paid off.
Yeah, Fred's been around a while, hasn't he, Fred Gabion, and is still as quick as ever. He's, 44 years of age, and you track his progress back, 20, well, I hate to say it, Fred, 22 years ago, you were the Renault Megane champion, so that's how long he's been racing, and first cut his teeth in things like French Formula Renault single-seater career before he then turned his way towards largely saloon and sports cars over the years. But yeah, Fred, a very likeable driver, has always been consistent and quick. 3 times a runner-up, isn't he, in EuroNASCAR Pro Jam?
Yes,
never won the championship though, amazingly.
Yeah, he is our Mark Martin. Hopefully, well, it would be great to see him win a championship before he retires. And of course, he's the driver with the most starts in EuroNASCAR. I believe he's, if I remember correctly, at 71, which is pretty impressive.
That's very impressive, isn't it? Yeah, for Fred. And sadly didn't add to that tally last year as well, did he? He took that sabbatical last year from competing. So we are now 3.5 minutes into this race. We are looking at Patrick Hendricks coming under pressure from Giorgio Maggi, the number 18 Hendricks Ford, getting a little bit sideways behind his teammates. So these are 2 teammates. They won't want to get involved with each other. And in fact, just behind them is Roy Hendricks as well, which is Patrick's brothers. So here we go, the 2 Hendricks Fords side by side. Giorgio Maggi has the inside line and is going to go through as they head up towards Eccleston Curva. So that is turn number 2. Through goes Giorgio Maggi. That puts him 6th place now. Patrick Hendricks drops to 7th, and he's got his sibling Roy Hendricks sitting not that far behind him now. So the 3 Fords nose to tail. It is a Ford still out front and leading though at the moment. Tobias Downhauer leads. The leading Chevy is in 2nd, which is Philip Beresville. The leading Toyota is, as we mentioned a few moments ago, Fred Gabion, who outbrakes himself at the hairpin, I'm afraid. Through goes Giorgio Maggi. There's a little bit of contact between Maggi and Gabion on the exit of the corner as Gabion gets back up to full pace, but I think a bit more momentum for Giorgio Maggi. We'll see him gain another position there. Yep, he is through now, the Swiss driver, and up into 5th place. Fred Gabion might have all of that experience, but there's still a chink in the armour there, John. He's dropped down into 6th.
These cars are so difficult to drive. Yeah. I was used to be a sim racer a few years ago, and now you have more experience than me on this version of iRacing. How tough are they to drive?
These cars are so difficult to drive. I haven't driven it around the Hockenheimring circuit. I only downloaded the circuit earlier on this evening, so I haven't turned a lap in what is a full NASCAR Cup car is what we're using here. But they are so difficult to drive. They're big, they're heavy, they don't have great brakes, but they've got way too much power. And the reason they don't have great brakes is exactly shown there by Giorgio Maggi, who I think turned in while still braking, and instantly the car locked the back end, and round he went. He has now dropped back behind Fred Gabion. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, he's trying to turn and brake at the same time, I think, there. The car just got sideways, slithered on to what is, here at the Hockenheimring, the start of the drag course, the drag racing track. Through goes Fred Gabion, through goes Patrick and Roy Hendricks as well.
This is also why we have so much fun. So next time a driver complains that these cars are so much difficult to drive, this is the reason why it's funny for us to watch, of course.
Contact there, I'm afraid, and that's the number 91 that's had a little tap into the rear, or 191 it says on the graphic, 91 on the side of the car. We need to sort this out for the final if we can. Nave Talor, who was just tagged into a very light spin there, the Israeli driver. So nice to say Navi back, but again, he's a driver that just throughout the course of Esports Series this year just hasn't had the look at all. Every time he seems to have sort of been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tobias Downhauer leading by a nice comfortable margin now of a couple of seconds. That's more than manageable between himself and Philip Beresville and Paul Giffrou. The best of the fights is probably still for what will be now 5th and 6th. Fred Gabion coming back under attack from Patrick Hendricks. So I would say for Tobias Downhauer, John, it's all gone very much to plan, hasn't it? You set the good time in qualifying, it puts you at the right end of the grid, and if you can just get that little break, which is what he's done, and he did it nice and early on, he did it on the first lap, you can control the race from there, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. And you can really have a little bit of training for the main event race in this case. Philip is not... He's a little bit far away from Tobias, and also Paul is probably taking care of his tires, understanding the car, how it reacts after 10 minutes, and then it will be main event race, and there it will be a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, we just have a quick look at Justin Coots, a replay for him. Exactly the same as happened to Giorgio Maggiormas. Right, but then he didn't quite catch the car as it came back the opposite way, so ended up doing a full 360 in the end. So that was a shame there for Justin Coots, the German driver who's been a regular on both the EuroNASCAR 2 and the EuroNASCAR Pro Grid over the course of the last few years. So Fred Gabion still coming under pressure from Patrick Hendricks. Patrick Hendricks has had some good runs throughout this season, but hasn't had a top 5 finishes yet. His best result was the very first round at Daytona, where in the final race, which carries the championship points, he finished in 8th position. Well, he's 6th at the moment. That would net him 12th for the starting grid of the final coming up, so could be on for a good night, but getting past Fred Gabion will in reality move him up one full row further on the grid come the final, so that's why he's pushing so hard, but he's only got another lap and a bit in which to do it. Justin Coots has received a warning for causing contact with Nave Talor. That was where we saw Nave get the car in the back of him and just spin him around. He is now recovering, Nave. He's up into 11th place and has just worked his way past the second of the cars that are representing Autodrome Moss this evening, which is Older Stepanovsky. There is the 463 Toyota of Stepanovsky, who is an experienced esport racer. We've seen like so many of them, these circuit partners, they bring in different people, John, don't they? They either bring in youngsters from the area, or some of them we've had marshals coming in. But we've had a few experienced esport racers from the home nationalities, and Igor Stepanovsky or Older Stepanovsky is one of those, isn't he? He's done a chunk of racing in the virtual GP series, hasn't he?
He's not a full professional in sim racing, but he is driving in the virtual GP. It's a very a nice championship, alternating different cars, a different car for each event.
Yeah.
And they switched to iRacing in 2020, proving that iRacing is a great platform for online racing of all sorts. And it's great. With sim racing, you can do this. You can drive a different car in each event.
Different car each event. And I've got to say, iRacing for me is the best platform for online racing. There are others, and some of them are good. iRacing, I think, gives you more variety. It's better quality. It's ever evolving as well in terms of the content. Like the Hockenheimring, this circuit we're racing on this evening, was only launched 2.5 weeks ago at the very most. 2 weeks ago for iRacing, as after they've spent many an hour digitally scanning the circuit and making sure that it is a very, very accurate representation of the way the track races in real life. And for Tobias Downhauer, he's about to claim a win on, well, home soil, virtual home soil, you could argue, because he's just working his way through the final corner now and up towards the checkered flag, which is going to be readied for him. So the 23-year-old German is going to claim a win in Heat 2. That will see him head onto the front row for the championship points paying final that will be coming up very shortly. Philip Beresville finishes in 2nd place, and Paul Giffrou, well done to him, coming through and finishing in 3rd position. Henry Tuamala has already taken the checkered flag in 4th place. Fred Gabion managed to hang on to 5th in the end, despite the fact they got Patrick Hendricks shadowing all of the way. Roy Hendricks comes through and finishes in 7th place. Giorgio Maggi is in 8th place. Are we going to see him drive backwards all the way round on the slowdown lap? Because that's what he tends to do at the end of the races. There's still racing going on. Francesco Caristo is getting together with Alessandro Brigatti as they clobber each other a couple of times, heading through the final couple of corners. So that is not quite going to work for them. Then after Giorgio Maggi in 8th place, it was Chris Niemann in 9th. That Stefan Krassin finishes the top 10. And the last few cars are just trickling over the start-finish line now, which will include the battered car of Alessandro Brigatti, who after his little bit of contact with Francesco Caristo is, I think, struggling with a little bit of damage, and also Igor Romanov we are expected to see over the start-finish line. One car did disappear very early on in the race, and that was Max Lanza, I'm afraid to say, who clearly had some issues. So that is heat number 2 now done and dusted. There's now going to be another 5 minutes of free practice before we will then start to see the grid line up for our final. And whilst that free practice is just heading out onto circuit, it gives us the perfect opportunity to chat to the winner of heat number 2. So congratulations, Tobias Downhauer. It's another heat win for you, and it will see you line up on the front row of the grid for the final with your main championship rival, Guillaume de Flandre, behind you on the grid.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good heat for me. I could show a good pace, I think, and yeah, but I think it's going to be a close race. Guillaume is fast as well, and Andre also. So yeah, it will be an interesting race, I think.
You can see the full results to the left of the screen there. So Tobias Downhauer, Philip Berger as well, and pulled you through. That was the top 3. Tobias, I mean, how good is it to have the Hockenheimring fully scanned, up and running, released by iRacing now, and to be able to drive on it in such a competitive series such as the EuroNASCAR Esports Series?
Yeah, it's really cool for me, especially as a German person. To drive with the Hockenheimring in iRacing is just perfect. It makes so much fun, and the track is beautiful to drive. So yeah, I'm just happy.
I don't want to prejudge the final, but yourself and Guillaume de Flandre seem to be so evenly matched. It's going to, as you suggested, going to be a close race. You've only failed to finish outside of the top 3 on one occasion. You'll want the win, won't you?
Yeah, of course. I'm aiming for the win, but I think it will not be easy. So I try my best, and let's see.
Okay, well, we'll let you get ready for the race, and I'm sure we'll be chatting to you after the final. Good luck for the final, Tobias.
Thank you.
There we go. So there is Tobias Downhauer, who very kindly provided us with that nice little video, John, that we played at the start of this broadcast, which provided a good sort of introduction as to what the circuit looks like and from a driver's perspective, but also the kinds of equipment and rigs that these drivers are racing with. As you suggested, you know, we've had some of them like Simon Palat running on a table in the past with a laptop. We know that Andre Castro did great things with an old Logitech wheel, and that's you know, a more budget end wheel, still a very good wheel, but clearly able to race with that. And then you look at Tobias Downhauer's rig there on that video, and you know, triple screens, a shifter, a full gaming seat, you know, a proper setup for him.
Yeah, what can I say? They're competitive. They're competitive, and everyone, there's so much professional equipment out there right now from all sorts of brands. They are all great, and you can really find your personal setup and adapt. Yeah. I wish I had it 20 years ago. Sorry, guys. I wish I had the stuff. My room in the apartment I was sharing in Milan would have been probably full of that stuff. But
well, it brings me back to my days. This is how old I am here, of the old Papyrus NASCAR game and playing that with keyboards. And that was the only way to do it. Yeah, that's the only way I could do it.
Well, Mark, one thing, the spin we saw earlier on, the couple of spins there in that corner where the dragway is, they lit a little bit a light in my head, and I remembered what happened in 2018. Do you remember it? A last lap dive from
Alan Day, Alan Day,
and he ended up exactly there on the drag strip. So, guys, I'm for the fans at home. I'm posting the YouTube link now. So after the race, of course, you can.
Alan was so desperate to win that race. He wanted to win it, and he kicked himself afterwards. And I think freely admits that put him on the back foot, didn't it, for another couple of races, trying to overcome the points he'd lost there. But yeah, exactly the same as we saw in that race. Going to show how good the modelling on the track is, how good the modelling of the dynamics of these cars are compared to the real things as well. Amazing stuff. So this is, as we say, just a warm-up session, a 5-minute warm-up session. We've already seen, though, the likes of Guillaume de Flandre and Andre Castro go out into this session. Simon Polat and Vladimiris Choitsis are the ones that have set the times so far, which means that they were very quickly out of the pit lane at the beginning of this session. They want to maximise their track time. This is such a newly released track, John, that even those extra couple of laps they're doing now helps build the knowledge, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. They everything helps, and I have to say they were all pretty much on track during the training sessions. Very interested in discovering the track, and they all cooperated very well to have a setup, because this is a peculiar for the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. It's the drivers cooperating to create the setup, and of course, every minute you can spend on track is more stuff you learn.
It is, yeah, and we're only 5 seconds away now from the checkered flag going out and the grid starting to form for our championship points paying final. This is round 4 of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series in partnership with i-cia.com, CIN.com and SimRacingLeague.it, with our great friends from TJ as well, who continually throughout the course of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, the real racing series, provide the championship winning ring and the championship winning trophy and rings at each of the individual rounds as well. So without the likes of i-cim.com and SimRacing League Italy, we couldn't do the esports series, and without TJ and our many partners, we would struggle to bring you the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series for real. So we thank all of them for their support throughout what has been a difficult few years in reality now. What took 12 months since we started our lockdown in the UK, and we're only now just slightly moving out of it, fingers crossed, next week. So grid lining up: Andre Castro and Tobias Downhour on the front row of the grid, Guillaume de Flandre and Philippe Beresville on row number 2. Row 3 of the grid is Ulysse Del Sol and Paul Giuffrew. Row 4 is Simon Polat and Henry Tuamala. Row 5, Davide Delara and Fred Gabion, with Vladimiris Choitsis and Patrick Hendricks on row 6, and Alan Muskron and Roy Hendricks on row number 7. Row 8 is Jakob Krafik and Giorgio Maggi. Row 9 is Stefano Gustavaglie and Chris Lehman. Row 10 sees Gordon Barnes lined up alongside Stefan Crescin, with Alberto Panebianco and Olda Stepanovki on row number 11. Row 12 is Leonardo Colavita and Nave Talor. Row 13 is Santa Vauxatoria and Justin Kuntz. Then it is Levi Lintecanto and Francesco Caristo, Alessandro Brigatti and Maxi Heilig, Igor Romanov and Rien Jensen, Yevgen Sokolovsky, and hopefully Max Lancer if he's gridded up, because he disappeared very early on in that race that we saw in heat number 2, and if he has gridded up in 34th place, Max could be one to watch in this race. Remember, 40 points for a race win, 35 if you're second, 34 if you're third. It goes down by 1 point for every position thereafter, and the car that from starting position to finishing position gains the most places, an extra 4 championship points for it. And this is the last race of the year where it will be single points, double points we will be heading for when we go to Zolder in a few weeks' time. Red lights go out. Great start from Andre Castro, who leads the charge of the field up towards turn number 1. Guillaume de Flandre is there with him in second position, and third at the moment is Tobias Downhour, with Ulysse Del Sol and Philippe Beresville in 4th and 5th. We've got problems, and I think Roy Hendricks is tumbling through the order, so he's got involved with somebody at the first corner. But if we look at turn number 2, Eccleston Curva, as they come out of it, great overhead shot that shows the big long straight down the Parabolica, the straight, but it's not really straight, it's just a huge arc to the left, round through Parabolica and in towards the heavy braking area for Spitzkir, which is where they're heading now, as Andre Castro looks to try and defend from Guillaume de Flandre for the lead of the race going into the corner. De Flandre is a little bit wide coming out, and has that given momentum to Tobias Downhour behind? A little bit, but he's not close enough to capitalise. So the top 3 still remain the same, and it is still Philippe Beresville that's there in 4th position, Paul Giuffrew in 5th, and Simon Polat in 6th place. Quick replay Well, that's Ulysse Del So that's had a bit of an off in the background. Oh dear, and then big accident as we see the car of Francisco Garisto get tangled up with Chris Lehman, and both of those are suffered heavy damage because that happened part of the way down the straight out of the Parabolica, so that will very much hamper their race for the remainder with that car damage that they will have to get repaired. As for at the sharp end, though, we said at the top of the evening, Gianluca, that we thought Andre Castro, Guillaume de Flandre and Tobias Downhow would be the top 3 drivers for pace this evening. They're in the top 3 now.
Yeah, exactly. And you see de Flandre is struggling a little bit. I think he made a couple of very small mistakes trying to keep up with Andre Castro. Will those little mistakes be determinant in the next few minutes? We'll see, but great racing, and all in all, a clean start.
Yeah, clean, largely clean. A few little bits along the way, but largely clean. I keep my eye on Philip Beresville at the moment because the last lap that we just had, Beresville was quicker than he'd previously gone through the first sector, but he was quicker than anybody had gone through the second and the third sectors. So he's really starting to hook the car together now. That is the number 479 car that sits there in the hands of the young German. Plenty of kart racing experience, plenty of sim racing experience, and literally lives on the doorstep of the circuit. Hugely impressive.
He knows what he's doing.
He certainly knows this place like the back of his hand. There's the battered car of Alessandro Brigatti, who drives straight into the back, I'm afraid to say, of Gordon Barnes there. Gordon will probably wondering what happened there because Brigatti just didn't seem to ease off the throttle coming out of the corner and didn't seem to try and change the rotation of the car. So Gordon Barnes is now rather frustrated. He got to wait for a gap in the traffic. That dropped him down into 28th position there. We do have a live race control, so they will be looking at any incidents and taking the appropriate action that they deem is necessary. We'll have to see as to whether there's any comeback for Francisco Garisto over that one, or whether he, as far as racer controlled were concerned, got away with that one. This is a quick replay here. Now this is Roy Hendricks coming in towards the braking area for the chicane. Oh, way too late on the brakes as Justin Kuntz. He managed to dive up the inside of, I think that was Jakob Krafek. So Justin Kuntz had already gained one place. It was the second car he was trying to overtake that he clobbered. He just was a little bit, I think, missed his braking point or something there, and that will surely carry some sort of penalty. Now Andre Castro is breaking away in the lead here. We're looking at the battle for 8th. Davide Dallara fighting away with Stefano Gustavaye. And if you haven't joined us before, just to press the point with the way the cars are numbered, any car that is numbered 0 up to 99, that is a driver that races in EuroNASCAR Pro. Any driver that is numbered 100 in the 100s, that's a driver that races in EuroNASCAR 2. The Club Challenge drivers start with a 2, so 200s. Those that are in the 300s are team members, and those that are cars numbered in the 400s are NASCAR Whelen Euro Series guests and influencers and track partners. So Stefano Gustavaye, team member, going alongside Davide Dallara, EuroNASCAR Pro driver. So that is a good little fight between those cars there. Doesn't matter where you look, Gianluca. I think this circuit, because of its nature, just creates good racing, doesn't it? Everybody has got somebody to fight with.
It's really special. It's a special mix of turns and straights and atypical corners, and you're never sure to be 100% at all corners. So it's really creating some really good racing. Also of course in the NASCAR layout we use, but it's funny to see this one as well.
It's great to see this one as well. There's a little bit of contact there, I'm afraid, as Nave Talor manages to cause, I think, a little bit of contact with Alberto Panebianco. Yes, it is. Yeah, the Not Only Motorsport Chevy rejoining directly ahead of Giorgio Madri's Hendricks Ford there. So Maggi is down in 19th position at the moment. We're looking back at him. Oh, there's contact further back, and that was Levi Lintercantu that got out of shape, tried to rejoin the circuit and rejoined straight in front of somebody else. So that is going to cause not just problems for Lintercantu, that's going to cause problems for others as well. Let's have a quick look. Turning into the corner, I don't think Fred Gabion tagged him there. Up to the next corner, right, then there's contact between Levi Lintercantu and Fred Gabion at the penultimate corner. And as Levi Lintercantu rejoins, he rejoins right in front of other cars that are heading round through the final part of the Motordrome. So
Usual point. Usual turn. They really love that drag strip.
it's great, isn't it? It's fantastic. I do like Hockenheim. I like all variants of it as well. I don't think any of the layouts are bad at all. Some of them suit some cars better than others. Right, so here come the warnings. Warnings for number 183. That is Roy Hendricks for causing contact with Jakob Krafik on lap number 1. So that's the first of the penalties coming up from race control. I have a sneaky suspicion it might not be the last of those that's dished out either before we get to the end of this 30-minute race. And as you said, 10-minute heats, nice and easy. You can drive flat out and just make sure you stay out of trouble and get a good result. 30 minutes for the final. You've got to think about those championship points and really think about the drop-off on the tyres, because these cars, towards the end of the race, will not handle the same as they do at the beginning, John.
Yeah, exactly. The length of the race is designed to be right there at the limit of your stint. So you have those final minutes. Your tires will be gone. It's not worth to stop to have a pit stop. You have to take care of them and slide everywhere. That's basically what I love.
and it is difficult to slide it, right? Francesco Caristo has a penalty for the incident with Chris Lehman. That's the one that we saw where the two of them got together heading round through the Parabolica. That has seen Chris Lehman rejoin the race, but is now a long way adrift. We have had two cars go in the pits and stay in the pits as far as I'm concerned, and those are Francesco Caristo and Alan Muscaron, both of whom I think are now out of this race, I'm afraid to say, whilst up front you can see the relative gap between Andre Castro and his pursuers, because Guillaume de Flandre, Tobias Downharrow, Philippe Beresvel and Paul Giuffrew are all not that far away, really, and you can include Simon Palat into that as well. The top, 6 cars covered by just 6 seconds, so it's not huge gaps between them all, really, but it's just enough so that the likes of Andre Castro can concentrate fully on the road ahead and not worry about what's going on behind. As for fastest lap of the race, well, Andre Castro has popped in a 1 minute 43.3, which is the fastest lap of the race that we've had, and that happened on the first of the flying laps. And once the fuel burns off, you could argue the cars go quicker, but the tyres drop off to the same degree, and if not more. So I think all of the quick lap times, Gianluca, will all come at the sharp end and have probably already been posted now, haven't they? Because these cars now are going to start to get slower, aren't they? By towards the end of this race, at least 2 seconds a lap, I would say.
Yeah, most probably so. Most probably so. The fastest lap has been most probably already posted. I'm curious to see if Ulysse Dassault will come back from that spin at the beginning of the race. He's now up in 23rd position. I think I saw him.
Yeah, there he is. You can see his car now. He's gone all the way through the gravel. He might not be in that position anymore. No, he's dropped back down to 25th. Nope. Because his car's just not handling the same anymore. All of the front bodywork is missing off it. The bonnet's missing off it, or the hood, as you would say in America. And he's carrying that damage and having to drive as hard as he can. But the car is just not going to be handling the way that he wants. And he's now, I think, been picked off by Maxi Heilig. Yes, he has. So, Maxi Heilig has gone through as well. So, Ulysse Dassault is not on for a good night, I'm afraid to say. Here's a quick replay. Yevgen Sokolovsky coming up towards the braking area and just loses the tail end of the car. Yep, so that was in the motordrome heading up towards Sachs-Kurth. So that was where he just lost the tail end of the car there, Yevgen Sokolovsky. And he's another driver that he's been a pleasure, hasn't he, really, to have in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. He has been a busy old chap racing for real and has been out in every round of the Esports Racing Series. I think he's enjoying the NASCAR family, is he not?
Yeah, he's definitely is, and he's a very, he's the right kind of driver. He perfectly gets the spirit of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. You can have the hardest fight on track, but when you are off the track in the paddock, it's always fun and sharing your passion with the fans.
Absolutely, yeah. It's pure racing out on track, but enjoying the time with the fans, the team, the whole NASCAR family as all the drivers get together socially as well at the circuits. Less so during the of course social distancing times, but once we hopefully return to some normality, we'll be able to do that again socially in the paddock area. So battling continue. This is a battle a long way down through the order. This is Gordon Barnes recovering from his spin, who's got himself now ahead of Maxi Heilig. So despite the fact that The 246 Chevy of Gordon Barnes was tagged into the spin. He's worked his way back through the order again. Might pick up a few more places now as well. Rien Jensen, his teammate, is the next just up the road. A spin behind for Maxi Heilek as he put 2 wheels onto the grass coming out of Sachs Curve, and he's now sitting right on the apex of the left-right kink before you head up to the penultimate corner. Gets the car spinning, but unfortunately spins it back through 180 degrees and ends up on the grass on the other side. So that has taken him a long, long time to recover and is going to undo some of the work that he had been doing. Great fight, though, for 21st now. The slightly battered car of Older Stepanovsky, representing Autodrome Most, an experienced esports racer, but coming under pressure from the 2 very similarly liveried Marco Steep Motorsport cars that sit behind, the first of which is the 346 car of Rien Jensen. Rien is looking to try and close up in the slipstream. Fred Gabion has received a warning for an unjustified risk, it says on lap number 2. And I think Rien Jensen's going to try around the outside here at the hairpin. Is he going to make it stick? Gets better drive coming off it, does he? The 2 Chevys absolutely together, squirreling around. Or sorry, the Chevy and the Toyota squirreling around. I was looking at the rear lights and they look identical. But eventually, yes, he does go through. Gains the place. Rien Jensen up a place. Older Stepanovsky down a place, and now coming under attack from the similarly liveried car of Gordon Barnes, who is going to try and work his way through, whilst another Marco Steep car is queuing up behind that as well, which looks as though it's Yevgen Sokolovsky. So under attack from a trio of Marco Steep Motorsport cars here.
Busy night for Stefanovsky.
Busy night for him, busy night for race control, because Alberto Panebianco has got a drive-through penalty, and that was for causing contact with Justin Kuntz on lap number 1. They are still, even though we are now on lap number 8, working their way through the replays of the accidents from the very first lap.
Okay, I will not say it again. It was not that clean of a start, but but the racing looks amazing. I was looking at the lap chart, and now the Flandre is 1.6 seconds behind Castro, but there's still time to make up for that gap.
Yeah, it looks as though Andre Castro is just sort of maintaining it, because it's been hovering around 1.7, 1.8 for the last few laps, and I think Andre Castro is either just doing enough so that he keeps De Flandre at bay, or De Flandre is pushing hard and it's just not working. I'm not sure. We'll know the story when we chat to them at the end. We're just getting a quick replay here of, this is Davide Dallara. No, it's not. It's the 189 car, so that is Alberto Panebianco. And his car, what happens to him? Panebianco, it's bouncing around on the screen. And then he heads round through Parabolica. No, not sure what that replay was about. So we'll come back to that one. We are now looking at this trio yet again of Marco Steep Motorsport cars fighting away for 21st, 22nd and 23rd position. Rien Jensen, Gordon Bounds, Yevgen Sokolovsky. They have dispensed a little bit with the Toyota of Older Stepanovsky, or Oldrich to give him his full title, Stepanovsky. Alessandro Brigatti is serving his drive-through penalty, so that is going to drop him outside of the top 10 now, as Rien Jensen and Gordon Barnes get together, the two teammates. Oh, and they've now collided with Yevgen Sokolovsky. All three of the Marco Steep Motorsport cars, who had all been fighting away, all managed to trip over each other as they went into the Mobile One curve, or INFAT as it's now called nowadays, the INFAT Motordrome. So that has allowed the likes of Justin Kuntz and Ulysse Del Sota to go through. So that's the one thing you don't do, if memory serves correctly, in motor racing, Gianluca, is you don't tangle with your teammate. Well, what happens when three of you and your old teammates tangle together? That's not a good thing, is it?
Yeah, they're gonna have a little chat with team owner Marco Steep. Do it virtually.
Absolutely. Virtually, we can laugh about it. It is slightly more light-hearted. If that happened for real, I would not be light-hearted about it whatsoever. I would be, yes, worrying what to say, because, yeah, I didn't see the start of it, just saw the end of it. We're now looking at the couple there in fourth place. Philip Beresvelt, who we saw on the overall podium last time out at Watkins Glen. He had a great run, did Philip. He was hoping for a good result at his home circuit as well. And for the moment, absolutely, that is what he is doing. He is sitting there in fourth position. His only other appearance was when he finished second last time out at Watkins Glen. More warnings coming in from race control. Livy Lintacantu warned for causing an accident with Alessandro Brigatti. That's on lap number 2. So at least race control are ticking off a lap here and there. Back to the fight though at the sharp end. And this is the two cars that are ahead of Philippe Beresval. This is the Guillaume de Flandre car, the newly liveried one for this evening, with its white and light blue and red flashes for this evening. And Tobias Dauenhauer. Down in 12th place, we've got another fight going on as well, and this is Davide Dallara fighting away with Leonardo Colavita. Is Leo Colavita going to try and do anything on Davide Dallara? No, Davide Dallara sees him coming and lets him go through.
Colavita is in a real difficult position because when your opponent is blinking a little bit, which means he's looking a little bit, losing a little bit of connection. That's really hard. You don't know where he is. You don't know where he will appear again. So, good move by Dallara. Leave room. Just don't make it difficult. Just don't make it more difficult than it already is.
It is. It's very, very off-putting. Whether you are the driver that's blinking, and even more so if you're the driver that is catching the driver that's blinking, you just don't know where they are. And yet, on some occasions, you end up trying to overtake them, and all of a sudden they reappear again as an accident that you just weren't expecting. As for the driver that at the moment is on for the 4 additional championship points from having gained the most places from their starting position, that's going to the car in 9th position at the moment. Great drive by the Finnish driver. Santtu Vuoksutoria is 16 places higher than where he started. He's running in 9th place, having started, what would that be, 25th. So a good little run being done by the number 46 Marco Steep Motorsport car in the hands of the man who used to race in the Scandinavian V8 Thundercar series.
Someone is making Marco Steep happy tonight. At least one of them.
at least one of his many drivers, yes. The rest of them have all had bad luck, some of their own making. Not so in the case of Chris Lehman, who was deemed to be the innocent party in his accident that he had early on in the race. So up towards the braking area, this is going to be for Spitzkira, a hairpin, and then accelerating their way down the short straight and in towards the right-hand kink that brings them up towards the Mercedes Tribune. And
these two will not stand each other anymore after this season. They are driving, it's the 4th race they drive close to each other, lap after lap. Whoa.
And the amazing thing is with these, not only are they pretty much inseparable in terms of the pace that they've got. One's in a Chevy and one's in a Ford. They're both racing for different teams. I know it's the same setup in reality, but I don't think once they have touched, have they, all season?
Yeah, this is very, very good driving on both
very
sides.
Good, very clean, very consistent driving and pushing each other to the limit of their respective abilities, which you say are very evenly matched. And I think at the moment, Philippe Beresval is there in 4th place. Is he closing in? Last lap for Beresval, yes. He was 0.3 of a second quicker than the pair ahead. So they're about to come over the start-finish line and conclude another lap. We've still only got, we're still only 2/3 of the way through this race, so still a third of it to go. Philippe Beresval that time through, 1 minute 47.3 from him. The pair ahead are in the 1 minute 48 now, so that's the best part of another 3/4 of a second he gained over Tobias Dauenhauer that time through.
Are we having the same deja vu, Mark?
I think we are. I think Philippe Beresval just knows how to get the best out of his tyres on the longer run and just looks after them in the early stages so that there's a bit more there towards the end. And I think Tobias Dauenhauer, a bit like he did last week, is now just struggling a little bit with them.
I tried to use the same strategy back when I was racing on NASCAR 2003. Well, I wasn't that good. No.
It's fair. I have the same problem no matter what I race. I'm just not very good. I enjoy it, but I'm just not as quick as I like to think I would be, which is very frustrating.
Yeah.
I think on this lap now, Philippe Beresval has either taken a bit more of a breather and slowed up a bit to let the car come back to him, or Tobias Dauenhauer has pushed even harder, because I think to the naked eye, the gap might have just come out a shade more on all of this, while Andre Castro is now leading by 6 seconds, so the gap has really increased. It had been hovering around, as we suggested, 1 3/4, 1.8 seconds for a few laps, but it's shot up now to 6 seconds. Right, more contact there. Now that was Davide Dallara and Leonardo Colavita, so that could be something to do with the connection for Davide Dallara, the two of them getting together. It's offered up a possibility for Fred Gabion to try and get through at the wheel of the Toyota, but he couldn't quite make it. So
is it still a Toyota? Missing some pieces.
It's missing some pieces. The front's got the badge on still. It's about the only way to recognise it now. So we're on board with Fred Gabion, 44 years of age, 3 times a runner-up in EuroNASCAR Pro, and has not had an overall podium in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series this year. Was knocking on the door last week at Watkins Glen, and at the moment is way too far back. He's in 14th position in this race, so that is probably, even if he gets past the next couple of cars, he'd still be lucky to finish inside the top 10, I'm afraid, there. But there's still 8 minutes to go, so plenty of time. You never know what might happen ahead. For the lead of the race, gap has grown 6.4 seconds first to second. Guillaume de Flandre still in second place. Tobias Downhauer in third. Philippe Beresvel there in fourth place. And traffic, I think, might be the next thing that they perhaps need to worry about, Charm.
Yeah, probably so. I was just wondering about that. Just when I expected them to catch up a little bit with Andre Castro, Andre just flew away, and he will have traffic. And will traffic play a role again in the battle for the title, like it did in Watkins Glen?
It was so close, wasn't it? They met the traffic at exactly the wrong place. The traffic that they were about to lap was battling, and one of them there you go, look, that's a spin directly ahead of Guillaume de Flandre there. So it just goes to show that even when you're sort of not catching the traffic, all of a sudden you can have a car spin directly in front of you, and that could almost cause you to panic. It was Alberto Panebianco who got sideways through Sachs Curve and then just managed to get the car off the racing line and off the curb and onto the grass before the leading cars came through, and then eventually rejoined. So scary moment there for Guillaume de Flandre.
Yeah, but we're up for a very interesting last part of the race. 7 minutes, 6 minutes.
Davide Dallara's had a problem, I'm afraid, and that is with Leonardo Colavita again, I think. So I think the two of them have again got themselves together. Let's have a quick look. 3 into 1 isn't going to go with a blinking car as well in there. No, so it was Davide Davara, Leonardo Colavita and Alessandro Brigatti that all got themselves together. And that was not helped by going 3 wide. It was certainly not helped by one of the cars then blinking because it didn't have quite a strong enough internet connection. As for the extra point, we're talking about the extra 4 points for gaining the most places. And I did say what a cracking job Santa Vauxatoria was doing. Well, quietly working his way up through the order is Alessandro Brigatti. He's just got tangled up in that accident, but Alessandro Brigatti, even with the drive-through penalty, is showing us having gained 18 places.
This is how exciting are these races? Eventful was the right word.
Very eventful. It's been quite uneventful though for Nave Talor, who's now up into 10th place, having gained 14 places, but is under pressure from the Cypriot driver Vladimiris Choitsis that sits right behind him. So Chevy from Ford, as they head the not only motorsport car up towards the Mercedes corner. Oh, and then Vladimir Choitses makes the lightest of touches with his Ford onto the tail end of Nave Talor. Nave Talor gathers up the spin and then has a half spin, almost in sympathy for his own issues, heading out of the corner. So that has dropped him now down through the order. That was just such light touch from Vladimir Choitsis, but in cars that are difficult to drive, when the drivers are on the very edge of adhesion anyway and the tyres are worn, all it needs is just the slightest touch, isn't it?
And you also have to always remember that there's an internet connection between you and your opponent, so there is a little buffer zone. You have to make it cleaner. You have to make a very good pass instead of just sticking your nose, or not sticking your nose in this case, but just don't go too close. You have to have a very safe margin to make your move.
Absolutely, otherwise you get those netcode issues where the cars, from our perspective, don't touch each other, but from the driver's perspective, there was some contact and the car's gone off, even though on replays they weren't near each other. It's just those little things, because it is lots and lots of pixels and lots of different internet connections and all of those things having to work in conjunction with each other. And occasionally, you do end up with contact where there ought not to have been. Fight for second, third and fourth, though, is absolutely formed now. Guillaume de Flandre is now under huge pressure from Tobias Dauenhauer, who's brought with him Philippe Beresville as well. There's only 4 minutes to go. All of this is aiding the cause of our race leader, Andre Castro, beautifully, because he's now 8 3/4 seconds to the good. Guillaume de Flandre makes a slight mistake coming around through Sachs curve, and that's almost the opportunity that Tobias Dauenhauer was waiting for, but de Flandre just got the move covered off in time. I think Guillaume de Flandre is now struggling for tyres a little bit. Again, there you can just see he can't quite get the car turned into the apex as much as he likes. So these 3 cars fighting over second, third and fourth absolutely together. The car that is behind them is a lap down, so don't worry about that one. It is just 3 cars fighting for second, third and fourth, but the battle is on, and fantastically, John, it contains the 2 drivers at the sharp end of the championship, first and second.
Yes. Is Guillaume de Flandre paying for those 2 little mistakes in the first laps? Is he paying for trying to stick with Andre Castro? I really love the spirit, but here there's a championship at stake.
Absolutely. Philippe Beresville looks to try and get a run on the Hendricks Ford that sits ahead of him. Is the German going to do anything to try and squeeze his way through? No, not quite. Now, a little bit of contact. I think almost Philippe Beresville was pushing Tobias Dauenhauer through the hairpin there. Looked as though there's a very slight amount of contact between the nose of the Chevy and the tail end of the Ford that lies ahead, but there was no real movement in Tobias Dauenhauer's car, so maybe he didn't feel it. Maybe it was as close as you can get without it affecting the car around you. And these 3 cars are now fighting away so much that it's allowed the lap car of Giorgio Maggi to close back in on them again. That's the car that's sitting behind, the number 18 car that is off the lead lap in the hands of the Swiss driver. Well, our
favorite reverse driving driver.
That's a skill in itself, isn't it? Be able to do a full lap in reverse in one of these cars at the speed he does it and not lose control. Now we are now at the stage where there's 1 minute and 45 left, and lap times are 1 minute and 47. So this is now Andre Castro heading on to his last lap of the race. I was talking about a 2, maybe 3 second drop off. We are now seeing on these tyres the cars are circulating anywhere between 4, 5, and in the case of Guillaume de Flandre, because he's under pressure, 6 seconds slower than he was doing in the earlier stages of the race. So that's the kind of tyre drop-off and degradation that the very clever iRacing model puts together. But the fight for second, third and fourth, I think it's all going to get decided on this last lap, possibly a bit like Watkins Glen. Could even be the final corner, John.
Buckle up, guys. We're about to see a very nice fight for second, and for the championship.
And for the championship.
It's 1 point. It's 1 point. Remember, they know it's just 1 point, and there are double points on the line next time up. But will Tobias want to?
Oh, there's contact there. Tobias Dauenhauer had a quick look at the inside of Guillaume de Flandre. There was the lightest touch. De Flandre goes sideways, slithers across the corner. Through goes Tobias Dauenhauer. Through goes Philippe Beresville. And Guillaume de Flandre loses 2 places as a result of that. Nothing intentional. Tobias Dauenhauer was right on the brakes as late as he dare, and it was just the lightest of touches. Let's have a quick look. From that corner, from the front left corner of Tobias Dauenhauer's car, there was no contact with Guillaume de Flandre. It was a netcode issue, but from Guillaume de Flandre's perspective, there was contact, and that's the strange thing you occasionally see. Andre Castro won't worry about any of that, though. Sorry to cut across to Jean, because he is 11 seconds to the good and is about to head out of the final corner. So it looks as though the American is going to secure top honours in round 4 of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series in partnership with i-cin.com and SimRacing League Italy and our great friends at TJ as well. So a win for Andre Castro as he celebrates heading over the start-finish line. Tobias Dauenhauer finishes on the road in second place. Philippe Beresville was there in third place. Guillaume de Flandre will come through in fourth position. So if the results stay the way they are, Tobias Dauenhauer will have picked up 35 points, won't he, for what is second position. It would be 33 points for Guillaume de Flandre for finishing in fourth place. That is going to close the championship lead down to 6 points going into the double points paying finals at Zolderjan. We couldn't wish for anything better, could we?
No, we couldn't. And now I'm gonna run down virtual pit lane and find you some driver.
Thanks, Jan. Yeah, we'll hopefully get the opportunity to chat to Jorge Benjamin further as well. So,
Sure.
congratulations to our top three, to Andre Crasto, to Tobias Downhauer, to Philip Beresvel. Guillaume de Flandre, I'm sure we will chat to as well. It'll be useful to understand his perspective, but it's great to see from that replay that there was no obvious contact on that front corner as well. Jorgen Benjamin joins me back in commentary as well. We're going to be chatting to him as well as our drivers that will be joining us very shortly as well. But we'll bring Jorge in now for a quick word before we finish things. Oh no, we've got race leaders coming in. So can we leave you hanging on, Jorge? And we will come back to him in a second because we have our race winner coming in to join us in the commentary box. Andre Castro. Andre, massive congratulations. You got exactly the start you wanted, and then them squabbling behind just aided your cause, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks to DF1. Thanks to Great Boost again for inviting me to do this. That was a lot of fun. I mean, definitely a lot of confidence going forward. Because like I said, I didn't feel like I had this track, you know, I felt like I was pretty shaky everywhere and just kind of buckling down doing some laps. I guess, you know, I figured out a way to save the tires and just was able to keep the rears under me, and I think that was pretty important. So yeah, that was I didn't think I could top the win from the Roval last year, but this one I think was a little better, so a lot of fun.
It certainly looked as though you were enjoying it out there, and as we spoke about briefly at the Watkins Glen round, that new equipment that you've invested in and the different setup you've got is certainly paying dividends. Will we see you back though for the final? That's the big question.
I believe you will see me back for the final. I mean, I don't see any reason why. I have to check the GCal, but no, I think it's good. I think I'll be back for the final for Zolder, and last year got second there, wrapped up the championship. It's too bad this year we couldn't go for the championship just because I had some conflicts, but yeah, this race definitely made me wish that I was, you know, doing all the races just to try to defend that crown, but no, it's great fun either way, and hopefully next week we can have a good run as well. Figuring out the sim was really valuable. Just get a lot more feedback from the pedals and the steering wheel. So yeah, overall it's just been a lot of fun, and I'm glad to get another win for the team.
Tell us your thoughts on Zolder as well. Double points, a circuit you enjoy as well. You raced that last year as well, briefly with us.
Yeah, Zolder is, I mean, last year I raced it in ENES and in real life, and yeah, just a classic circuit. I mean, there's not many overtaking opportunities, definitely fewer braking zones to pass than here, so just going to be important to get the pole, start up front, and hopefully we can defend this win.
Well, congratulations on the win. Very well done indeed, Andre Castro.
Yeah,
well
thanks,
done.
Mark.
So let's bring in the driver that finished in second position, Tobias Downhauer. You were sitting in third for a good chunk of the race, and then heading into the hairpin at the end of the big long straight and the Parabolica, it looked as though there was perhaps just a little bit of contact between yourself and Guillaume de Flandre.
Yeah, it was a really tough race. First of all, congrats to Andre. He was really fast, and also to Philip and to Guillaume as well. I'm sorry for the contact in the last round with Guillaume. I was already on the inside on the braking, and he moved to the right, and I had no chance to avoid these collisions. So yeah, it was still a nice race. The last round is not the way I would like to end this race with Guillaume, but yeah, still much fun.
It certainly looked close on screen, and we did see a brief replay from the front left corner of your car, and from that perspective, it looked as though there was an element of netcode in there. So I think it was probably, you know, hardly any contact in that respect. It's just the way that the game dealt with it. So as you say, you were still disappointed that even that contact happened, but it's such a fine margin, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I was still on the braking, and I had no chance to move to the right. So it was a little bit of contact, but I couldn't avoid it. So hopefully Guillaume is okay with that.
It's going to be close in the championship, you guys. Zolder, though, double points, a championship crown to be won.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be a tough fight between Guillaume and me, and the championship is still on for the last race, and I'm looking forward to Zolder in 2 weeks.
Well, we'll see you at Zolder in a couple of weeks. Well done, Tobias. Let's bring in the driver that finished in third position. He's almost racing in his virtual back garden with us this evening, but we have got Philip Beresvel is here. Philip, congratulations again. Another podium. Well done.
Yes, thank you.
Well, literally, you are almost racing in your back garden, aren't you? Virtually, this circuit is not far away from home. You've been so competitive in the couple of races that we've seen you, and you must be really, really pleased.
Yeah, especially today. I haven't really practiced, maybe 2 or 3 hours before the event today. So I'm very, very pleased with P3 today. Very lucky, of course.
And a circuit that you know well. Does that help because you know the circuit so well that even though it's only just recently been released from iRacing, you've seen every little bit of tarmac at Hockenheim?
Yeah, I did, and it helped really a lot.
Are you back for the final?
Yes.
Excellent stuff, and well done. Fantastic representation, and to do it with Jörg Benjamin watching on, it must be a great honour for you.
Yeah, greetings to him.
Well done, Philip. There we go. So that's the top 3 we've spoken to. We'll still work our way through the other drivers. Thank you to Jörg Benjamin for still hanging around. We will chat to him before we finish the stream, rest assured. We'll move on to the driver that finished in 4th position. Microphone's on mute at the moment, but we'll grab a quick word with Guillaume de Flandre, who is with us. Guillaume, 4th position. It's still more championship points, but you must be disappointed.
The race was difficult without the wall round. I didn't find the feeling I wanted to with the car. It was difficult to find my rhythm and couldn't manage my tire. But the Andre, Philippe, and Tobias is really quick. I can't follow on the final. The 4 laps remaining, my tire is completely down. But yeah, difficult.
I thought it might have been tyres that you were struggling with, and heading into the hairpin, that very small touch from Tobias.
Yeah, the last lap was difficult. We touched each together, other, but yeah, I think it's the racing and little contact with Tobias, but this is the race, I think.
Well, we wish you all the very best at Zolder. Surely the championship is down to yourself and Tobias, and you're going to provide some great racing for us in 2 weeks' time at Zolder.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
good.
We look forward to it. We've got one more driver as well that's around before we bring in Jörg Benjamin. We've got Simon Palat has joined us as well. Simon, welcome along. Congratulations. That is your best result of the season. You were 6th at Daytona. You've just finished 5th here at Hockenheimring.
Yes, thank you. It was not an easy race. I tried to just stay on track and make no mistake. I made a little mistake in Heat 1, which kind of cost me 2 places at the start. But then once I passed the pole, I just tried to keep my tires safe in case something happened in the front. I was keeping the pace with them, but just couldn't catch up to bring it closer to them.
Certainly in the early stages, it was sort of the top 6 of you that got the break, wasn't it? Andre, Tobias, Philip, Guillaume, yourself, and as you say, pulled you through. And at what point did you lose pace with the top 4?
I think when I started fighting with Paul, it's very difficult to pass with these cars, so you just stay behind and try to find an opening or a mistake. And when I passed Paul, I think I stayed a little bit, then I made a mistake, which cost me around 1 second. And then it was just playing back and forth. Sometimes I would catch up, sometimes I would lose. So it's just, I think everyone was around the same time besides Andre, and all the races we've been close together, so it was pretty tough.
And now you've got this first top 5 of the season. You'll be wanting a podium and ideally a win at Zolder, surely.
Yes. Well, last time I had a podium on Zolder, so I hope I'll stay as good as before and maybe even better to get a first place.
Well, good luck at Zolder. Congratulations. Thanks for chatting to us. There we go. So there is Simon Palat. So I'm just going to have a last quick double check. We have spoken to Andre, we've spoken to Guillaume, we have spoken to Philip and Simon and Tobias. So we can now, myself and Gianluca, we can have a chat to Jörg Benjamin, who has just seen some fantastic racing action at a virtual Hockenheimring. Jörg, I know you hung around for the race. Fantastic racing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it was action from the beginning to the end, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope everybody enjoyed it on the television. And it just shows how good the Hockenheimring is, and there are many places where you can overtake, and there are so many action to watch there. That's really great.
And I think from a, we talk about American Fan Fest. For maybe people that haven't been to Hockenheim before, it is a venue where there are so many different viewing opportunities, aren't there? Some great viewing areas, and all of this off-circuit activity that you put on as well. The racing on track is only a small part of a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, that's right. We have many action in the paddock. We have many really good grandstands where you can see almost the whole track. So I think it's really good to come to Hockenheim and visit the race, if we can do it this year.
Well, let's hope so. And the final question is: obviously, this is a new track for iRacing. How much involvement and how much work have you done with the iRacing team for all of the digital scanning that's had to go on to create this very, very good, I suppose, virtual Hockenheimring circuit?
Yeah, I met them in Daytona 2018, and they asked me whether they could scan Hockenheim. And then I asked the CEO of Hockenheimring, and everybody said, yeah, of course, we will do that. And I think it took almost 2 years now to get everything done. But I think the result is really, really great. By the way, I want to congratulate Andre Castro, of course, and the DF1 team, Norbert Walshofer and Gudrun. They are really good friends of me. So congratulations to Austria.
Well, Norbert will be posting on social media as we speak. I'm sure about what the team have done this evening. So yeah. John, anything from yourself for Jörg before we let him go?
Yeah, I hope that the race control will leave the result as it is, because it was just racing in the last lap. And
yeah, I don't know, absolutely.
Guillaume will get his chance in Zolder on his home track.
Yeah, let's hope so too. John, it's been great, hasn't it, to catch up with Jörg Benzmann and Hockenheim and everything they do, and all of our other circuit partners to support us.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to thank everyone involved, from the drivers to the teams to the tracks, and Jörg here with us, and of course all the fans that join us tonight. It was really funny, eventful, as always, and we look forward to really hit the track in real life and meet everyone at Hockenheim soon.
And we'll let Jörg go now. Thank you, Jörg Benzmann, for joining us. We'll get to catch up with him soon. And John, my final question for you before we sort of kill the stream for the night is Zolder, next time out, a circuit that is well used to holding EuroNASCAR finals, whether it be in the Whelen Series or the Esports Series. It's going to be so tight to call, isn't it, as to who is going to walk away with the second ever EuroNASCAR Esports Series championship.
Yeah, there's really no room between Guillaume and Tobias. The one who's going to finish in front of the other is going to win the title. Probably. Maybe.
Let's just hope it's clean. It was largely clean tonight. There was nothing in that contact for me between Tobias and Guillaume. Guillaume said he was struggling on tyres. Tobias said there was light contact. You look at one replay, and there was clear daylight between them, so there's a bit of net code in there. So let's hope it's a clean race, because I've got huge respect for those two drivers in particular, all of the drivers in the Esports Series, but those two have been at it wheel to wheel every single round. And that light contact we had tonight is the only contact we've had between them all season. So let's hope we are in for a cracking final at Zolder.
Yeah, and this is the kind of pure racing we love.
Absolutely.
Is a part of it, but it happens. And when the two drivers have this respect for each other, you heard them talk about it. Wow, we can only enjoy the show.
And we've certainly enjoyed it. Thanks to your help, Gianluca, for stepping in as well. Get well soon, Andre, as well. But for round 4 of the NASCAR Euro Series Esports Series, that is it. We will be heading to Circuit Zolder for the finals, double points paying, and that will be held in 2 weeks' time, Tuesday, the 6th of April. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you put that date in your diary. Watch all of our social media streams as well, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or log on to EuroNASCAR.com, and you can pick up all of the details from there. So from myself and the whole NASCAR Whelen Euro Series team, thanks for joining us for round 4 of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. We'll see you for the finals in 2 weeks at Zolder. Until then, Goodbye.